A lot of things have changed in college football over the years, but one thing remains the same. You have to build through the high school ranks. We're going to talk about it here today on Between The Eers. Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of BTE. I'm Schuyler Callihan. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI, where we have shows every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday throughout the football season. We have the Walk Thru GameDay Show every Thursday, previewing that week's matchup. And, of course, shortly after every game, we have the Mountaineer Postgame Show with Eugene Napoleon. And over the last couple of days, I've seen a lot of folks getting upset with this approach that Rich Rodriguez has in recruiting. And it really kind of amplified last night when I tweeted that Rich Rod had said on his radio show that they're going to try and sign 35 high school kids this cycle. Now, if you are somebody that maybe doesn't follow recruiting religiously, and I understand why you're talking about teenagers here trying to make a decision. Oftentimes they switch their decision 15 times before they get to signing day. I get it. It's not a fun thing to cover, but it is interesting at times. So right now, as we stand, as we record, this could also change in the drop of a heartbeat here, but we'll say they've got 26 recruits, 26 kids committed in this 2026 class. So obviously some work to do if they want to get to that 35 number. And a lot of folks were complaining and panicking, saying, oh my goodness, why is Rich Rod going this route? This is not the way to go. This is not going to be, Dabo Sweeney at Clemson. Look at how his program's kind of fallen over the last few years going this way. Folks, he's not going in the Dabo Sweeney bank of I'm never touching the transfer portal. That's not what he said. He's never said that. In fact, he said they will use the transfer portal to fill needs, and that's what most college programs are doing. I mean, this is not brand new news to anybody. This is the same philosophy and the same approach that almost every college coach out there who doesn't have oil money behind them is following. So, look, you want to get pissed off, you want to get ticked off about not spending big dollars in the transfer portal, I get it. But where's the money going to come from? You're not Texas Tech. You don't have the oil money that they have. And like I said the other day, you try to play like the Yankees here in the room where you're trying to build your team and try and forge all this money together, which is probably not going to happen, then you're going to lose to them out there. Texas Tech is the Yankees, are the Yankees right now in the Big 12 because they have all this money compared to everybody else. That's just the facts of it. And as I also stated the other day, for those that are upset about the lack of money that West Virginia may or may not have, and also want a softball team on top of it, this is what I'm getting at here, folks. Like, you can't have it both ways. It may be several $1 million to start a softball team. And then you think, oh, well, after that, you're not really feeding a whole lot of money into it. Correct, but you're also taking a step back. You're pulling money away from football. You're pulling money away from other sports. That's what I was trying to get at the other day. But when you look around the Big 12, and I did some quick research here. I looked at some teams that I thought have been very competitive over the last couple of years, including this year, and I think that are kind of similar to West Virginia in terms of resources. Now, I don't know this exactly. This may not be a perfect alignment here, but this is what these teams have done in the transfer portal, at least just this past year, just this year. I can go deeper if you want me to, and I can get an article looking back at the last 3 or 4 years if that's something you're interested in. If it is, let me know in the comments so I can take time to do it. But this was just a little light research going into this episode. So just for this year, these are how many transfers these programs brought in. Arizona State, 17. BYU, 13. Iowa State, 8. Kansas State, 17. TCU, 12. Utah, 22. So the most we're talking about here is 22. And that's very possible here in this upcoming offseason for West Virginia because you have so many kids that are leaving due to graduation. You're going to have 35-ish, give or take a few, coming from high school, but you're also going to have a pretty big transfer portal class. It's not going to be 80 plus new guys that you're going to be bringing in to the roster next year, but it's going to be a pretty healthy number. As the years go on, that number is going to continue to drop, and you're going to want to get it to a spot where you're kind of in the mid 30s to 40s range, because you're just naturally going to have guys leave through the portal. You're going to have guys where you kind of say, hey, thanks for your contributions, but you're probably not going to work out here. So go ahead and try and see what else you have for you. So you have that piece of it. You're going to have guys that may leave for the NFL early if it gets to that point where you're building up the program and you've got some guys that are playmakers. You're going to have guys that are graduating every year. So, I mean, there's so many ways that attrition happens, but at some point, you're going to want to get it down to that same ballpark where you're replacing kind of the same amount of players every year. These first 2 to 3 years, you're still going to be bringing in big numbers. But when I'm looking at this and I see the most you're talking about of those 6 schools is 22, I mean, that right there tells you everybody is still going in on the high school recruiting route as the way to go. And it should be. I don't understand why there's this fascination with the portal. Like, yes, you want to go out and get guys that can help fill a need and be a Band-Aid for an area. Like if you've got, let's just say you've got an all league caliber starting cornerback, and you've got a bunch of young pups behind him. Well, you may not feel all that comfortable starting 2 of those young guys next year, but if you can go and get a guy out of the transfer portal and he can be the one, your number one cornerback, and he can follow that guy around the field, and you start the other young guy on the other side, that's a Band-Aid situation. You feel okay, even if it's a guy that's just there for 1 year. But when you constantly are bringing in, golly, 50-some transfers, that's just not the way to go. It's not going to work. Look at what Dion did 2 years ago. In his first year there, they had all these transfers. And even West Virginia fans, I remember seeing a lot of West Virginia fans saying, that's never going to work. You're bringing in way too many guys. But now that's the way to go? No. Look at what's going on now. West Virginia's 2-4. They have all of these transfers. But that's what had to happen here in year one, or in off-season one. They had no choice. They had to go out and get that many new guys. It's not the way forward. You looked at what Dion did in that first year in Colorado. What'd they do? 4-8. They had all those new guys. That number decreased in year 2, still a healthy number, but they were 9-4. It's the same situation here. Now, West Virginia win 9 games next year. I have no idea. I'm not going to get into that because we have no idea who is going to be here, who's not. The fact of the matter is that number should decrease because you're keeping more guys around, and obviously you should have more continuity. You should know what's going on, so you should have more success in year 2. Bringing in 50 new guys every year is not the method. It's just not. You look around the country. I just gave a small example of the Big 12, but you look around at many of the teams in the top 25 or hovering around the top 25. They're doing the same thing. They're not going out and buying their roster. There's only a handful, a very, very select few of schools that can actually go out and do that. You're talking Texas Tech. You're talking Ohio State. You're talking Michigan. You're talking Georgia and Alabama. But beyond that little small number, everybody else is in the same ball game. They're operating the same way, bringing in the high school kids, developing them their way. When you have this many new pieces, it's hard to get everybody on the same page, number one, as we've seen with the offensive line. It's hard to teach some of those bad habits out of them when they come to your program as young pups, as 17 or 18-year-old freshmen. They may develop habits, but it's going to be habits that you coached. It's going to be the habits that you know how to work through. But when it's something that they've been taught at 2, 3, and sometimes 4 schools, it's hard to get that out of them. You have to have continuity. The best programs in the country are the best programs in the country because they have continuity. Even at the schools that buy their rosters, they have continuity. They have guys that have been there 3, 4 years. That's what has to happen at West Virginia. You're never going to be a successful program trying to compete with Texas Tech, largely because you can't. You cannot go out there and obviously they're not going after the same type of recruits because Texas they're in the hotbed of Texas, obviously, and they're going to go get those kids and maybe some kids from Oklahoma and Louisiana. But the fact of the matter is you can't have that same approach of going out and trying to, oh, you want X amount of $1 million? Come on down. Come to Morgantown. It's not going to work. It's just not. Now, bringing in all these guys from the Division II level, the FCS level, the Group of Five, that's going to be a part of West Virginia's recipe. But I think it's not. I don't think it's going to be as much as what we saw this past year in the transfer portal. I think moving forward, you're going to see more Group of Five, high level Group of Five guys. You're going to see some more Power Four guys trickle in that maybe just didn't get an opportunity at their given school, or they're just looking for a fresh start. That's going to happen. But as I've also mentioned many times, as this goes along, your hit rate in the transfer portal should be much higher. Because if we're taking, let's say 85 shots from half court, how many of those are you going to hit? Be realistically now. Like you're not hitting 40 of them. You're not hitting 20 of them probably. You might be lucky to hit 9 or 10. And that's kind of the same thing here with this football roster this year. You took all these shots from half court. You might hit a few of them. But outside of that, it's a huge guessing game. A lot of guesswork going on in a very, very accelerated recruiting process. I mean, we're talking about guys hopping in the portal. You get them on the phone. Hey, would you have any interest? Okay, would you want to come in for a visit? Okay, you come in for the visit. Okay, 24, 48 hours later, do you want to come here or not? No, if not, then we got to move on because that's how fast the transfer portal process is. That's why they call it speed dating. So, I don't know what the fascination is. I don't know what the panic is all about. This is nothing new. This is what Neil Brown was trying to do and just didn't work. He had more of a higher miss rate in the high school ranks than probably most would have liked, including himself. That's what a lot of these other Big 12 coaches are doing that are competitive and are fighting for a spot in the Big 12 title this year. This is the way to go. If you build with a roster that's got 40, 50, 60 transfers every single year, you're not building anything. You're not building a program. You're building a team. And to hit that reset button every single year is not sustainable. It's just not. You might get lucky and you might hit on it on a year, but over the course of time, it's not going to work because one, you don't have the continuity. Two, financially, you're spending all that money to go all in on that one team. And then guess what? If they're a bunch of seniors and they're juniors and ready to go to the NFL, then you've got to start all the way over. Do you want to go all in again? Where's those resources coming from? That's the point. The cheapest way, and I'm not trying to say that West Virginia is being cheap, but this is what every college program is trying to do. It's what they've always done. Build through the high school ranks, develop those kids, and that's going to be your program. It's going to be easier to go into the transfer portal and get the guys that you actually want because you have the resources versus going and splurging on and trying to splurge, I guess, on 40, 50 kids in the portal. You're never going to work. It's never going to work. You won't have the money to do it. If you want to have success in high school recruiting, you've got to make sure you're very calculated in the transfer portal. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why this is brand new news to people. I don't know why there's this panic, this freaking out phase. It's nothing, folks. It's literally what everybody's doing. Everybody. So, anyways, Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I know there's going to be some folks that disagree, and that's okay. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my way of thinking or my opinion is always right. But this is one area where, I mean, if you really want to put your money where your mouth is, then go for it. But I'm telling you, it's just not a sustainable thing to do, especially at West Virginia. You just can't do it. If we're operating in this NFL like model world, which it's not truly NFL, it's more like an MLB thing because there's no salary cap and certain teams can spend more money than others, like Texas Tech is the Yankees. Well, West Virginia, you might be the Cincinnati Reds. You might be the Milwaukee Brewers, and if you're really good. You got to be very smart with how you spend your money, but you can still be good. You can still beat the Yankees, but you can't do it the way they're doing it, if that makes sense. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'll be in there to chat back and forth with you, and we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of BTE. Thursday, Walk Thru GameDay Show with Eugene, breaking down West Virginia and UCF. Thank you guys, as always. Appreciate the support here on the channel. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back here tomorrow morning on BTE.